I did discover, much to my discomfort, and don't tell him I said this, but the guy's a genius. Those lyrics, which I never paid any attention to, are actually really moving, intelligent, deep.
They are.
I always knew he was deep. I mean, just look at it.
Stewart, thank you so much for joining Gold Radio. How are you?
Excellent. Nice to be here on Leicester Square.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's great. If
Now, you broadcasting all over the nation?
We are.
Hello,
Sorry about
Britain.
that. There
Let's
we are.
all have a cup of tea together, shall we?
A cup of tea. Yeah, when did you last come over? I mean, 'cause you're based in America, right?
Yeah, well, I lived in England for 20 years, so I'm more of a teabag than I look or sound. In fact, my American accent was an affectation until the
stayed
last...
with it.
Yeah, well, then I actually moved back to America when I aged 30-something.
Yeah.
And now my American accent's actually quite real. No, the problem is my English accents have all gone the way of Mr. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Dick Van Dyke.
Dick Van Dyke. All right, Governor. How about cut tea then, mate? Or Ruby, let's all go for... that's how bad it's gotten. I'm
great.
sorry to insult the British people with this terrible rendition.
No, we love it. Honestly, we love it. Now, let's talk about your new album, which I am in love with this because
shucks.
Wild Concerto. I am a huge animal and wildlife lover. And this, for me, is a dream. And I was so excited to talk to you about it. And just tell us how this came about. It's a classical album with wild animals instead of voices.
Instead of singers.
Yeah.
Well, as a drummer, who needs them singers when I got me a
right.
red-breasted nuthatch? Although their dressing room requirements are about the same. These stars, once they start singing, you got to give them the good champagne.
It must have been very different.
Yes.
Working with these sounds, right?
Well, I have to give credit to Platoon Records, who had the vision to acquire this incredible library. Now, I just bang stuff and make music because it's fun, but Martin Stewart, the Richard Attenborough of sound, had to go out around the globe on his hands and knees in the triple canopy jungle and the howling winds of Antarctica to get these sounds, and many of which are either extinct or soon to be extinct.
Oh, I know.
And then the other hazard is sound pollution. A lot of these sounds are not recordable anymore because of urban spread and diminishment of the habitats of these animals and just the audio. And so the collection of these sounds by itself is pretty unique. But I guess the Platoon folks were scratching their heads. Well, this is all great, but what do we do with it? So they called me. And the reason they called me is because I have a history of working with sound. For my first film scored for Francis Coppola, I was using loops of dog barking and pile driver and stuff as music, as part of the music. So this whole idea of found sound used musically, I go back with Wall Street for Oliver Stone. I, scored the film with dogs snarling and yabbering, and some music too.
So you were the perfect man.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. And I discovered something.
Yeah.
That the human ear joins things. And as your listeners probably know, there's no such thing as color or pitch or melody. These are things that the human brain constructs. We construct color out of wavelengths. And the color is in our mind.
Yeah.
And the same with music. And so these birds singing, the white-throated sparrow, is singing what we would call a song, a bird song. But actually, there's an important distinction between a bird song and a melody. The bird's sounds are not pitched. They're not an F and a D and a G that you could play on a piano or, they're not pitched. They're sounds, But you put it next to a flute, which is playing honest-to-God notes, and the ear connects the two. So now that white-throated sparrow is singing beautifully.
Oh, it is
and you take the flute away, and you still hear the bird in song. Same is true of the wolves, the howling wolves of the Arctic. Oh, man, those are some jazz wolves. They got some soul. I call them the Coltrane wolves because you put a trombone next to that howl, and suddenly that howl has a melody.
I love the fact that many animals have their turn, don't they?
Well, now it must be said that I have cheated. and I will confess to your listeners this grave error that I have made for your benefit, that in any given locale, many of the star animals would be predating upon the others. Therefore, you probably would not hear these animals in such close proximity because one of them would have been eating the other. But that's okay. It's only music.
Listen, they're side by side, but not exactly. But no, it is absolutely beautiful. And as you mentioned, quite a few endangered animals.
Yes.
There, which seems so heartbreaking, doesn't it?
Well, yeah.
But also beautiful that you've recorded them in this way.
Well, that Martin recorded them. I'm in my air-conditioned studio having fun with them. But Martin had to go out there his gosh darn self to get all these sounds. Quite a rugged individual.
Yeah, really?
Oh, yeah.
Well, did he come into the studio much, or
he came when we were recording at Abbey Road. He came in just so that we could both be Beatles for a day.
Yeah, wonderful. How great! What a great experience.
He'd never seen an orchestra working before,
hadn't he?
And it's fun to have. I wouldn't call it. People who don't do this every day for a living. It's fun to have them in there to remind you of how cool it is.
Yeah. No, it must have been absolutely amazing. Of course, thinking back to your days with the police, do you prefer working with humans or animals, do you?
Don't get me into trouble here, folks. I love humans. Humans are great. Oh, I love humans. But animals are easier. Because I have the recording already. I don't have to coax, goad, and they don't talk back.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I don't have, a frog coming over and telling me how to play my hi-hat.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, no, you know what humans are like. They're always tricky, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Let me ask you, while we have you here, we have to talk about the police a little bit, because we play the police all the time on Gold Radio. Our listeners absolutely love you.
Oh, terrific.
If you could revisit one police track.
Let's.
Which would it be?
Oh, let's see. Can't Stand Losing You, or Message in a Bottle, or Bring on the Night, or Every Little Thing She Does.
So
I don't know.
Many.
There's so many. I like them all, actually. I'm a big fan of... I didn't really discover Stingo's songwriting until recent years, when I took them all and deranged them for orchestra.
And
made orchestral arrangements of these, which I play with orchestras across the land. And working out the vocal harmonies, I have 3 soul sisters on the mic. You can't replace Andy Summers except with a giant orchestra.
Absolutely.
And you can't replace old Stingo, but with 3 beautiful soul singers to sing those songs. And with arranging them, oh, my goodness, is that what the song's about? Gosh. I'm at the back of the stage banging stuff. I don't know what he's singing about, nor could I care less. I'm a banger of stuff. And all I can see is the back of his head. If I see the front of his head, it's probably because he's yelling at me. So I did discover, much to my discomfort, and don't tell him I said this, but the guy's a genius. Those lyrics, which I never paid any attention to, are actually really moving, intelligent, deep.
They are.
I always knew he was deep. I mean, just look at him.
He's deep, isn't he?
He is deep.
He's quite a character.
He's very deep.
Do you ever speak to him now?
Oh, yeah. We're very close.
Good.
And there's, whenever I see stuff written about him, I always think, no, you clearly have him. He's got a sense of humor. You don't see that in public. He's completely self-deprecating. He is not stuck up. He's quite shy, I would say. I hope he's not listening. But that's why he seems dour. And if you get to know him, and he's actually very warm, and he has a great self-deprecating sense of humor. And as I find out 50 years later, writes a heck of a lyric.
Isn't that interesting that it's taken that time for you to kind of really...
Well, maybe I was distracted by the tunes. He can sing too. I mean, the improvisations on stage where he would just take off and I'd be transported. I don't care what he was singing about.
Yeah. And you're still all going strong, obviously, as in,
Well, as long as we don't play music.
Independently. And you...
As long as nobody brings up music, Sting and I and Andy get along just fine.
Really?
Yeah, well, it's really easy to understand. We had band therapy to work this out during the reunion tour.
You did not.
Well, we were on the most successful tour ever, and having great, except for 2 guys.
Yeah.
What's the matter here?
Yeah.
And we knew we love each other, because as soon as we were, around the dinner table and stuff, but how come, and we realized that we are not birds of a feather.
No.
That we listen to different music. We listen to music for different reasons. We make music for different reasons and by different means. Our playlists do not... I doubt if Stingo has any Slipknot or Jimi Hendrix on his playlist.
Really? What would it be on his playlist?
Edith Piaf, I don't know.
Really?
I never... all I know is there ain't no Slipknot. No Metallica on his playlist.
And what's on yours?
Oh, Metallica. Slipknot. Yeah. For some reason, heavy metal music cheers me up.
Yeah.
The sound of some young person extremely angry makes my 70-something-year-old heart leap with joy.
I love this. This is so funny. Let's talk about your drumming style. It is so unique. The legends that you sort of like, I mean, you're a legend, but who do you look up to, would you say, on that?
Oh, well, my guys are
You're a fan of Ringo, right?
a fan of, and a mate, too. I mean, of course, I have to, every I see my old buddy, I got to, bow 5 times, say 10 Hail Marys, and kiss his ring, and then we can talk.
Yeah.
He came before me. This is how the hierarchy amongst musicians is established. Dogs, they establish a hierarchy. And as soon as they know what the hierarchy is, the top dog, middle dog, bottom, then they're all happy.
Yeah.
And the same is true with musicians. And the way we figure it out, without arguing over who sold more records, it's chronological. And the bass player in Herman's Hermits, Lemmy's Motorhead, they are above me.
And just finally, the album Wild Concerto is out this Friday.
Yes.
How excited are you about this?
Very excited. But I'm just saying that because I was excited to make the record, and then everything.
Are you nervous about it coming out?
At my point in life, and with the kind of music I'm making, it's not a chart-bound sound. Sadly, folks, you probably will not be hearing this album a lot at drive time on Gold Radio. In spite of the great music that they play here, my record's probably... And so I'm not hung up about the commercial appeal of it. And that's another great credit to the record company, Platoon, that they would invest in hiring a big, bad orchestra and a big, bad studio and all that to make a record just because it's cool. It's strictly art for art's sake.
Beautiful.
And so I'm not holding my breath for, what's my chart position? That's not why I do it. And the other strange thing is I've learned is that the mission is the creation. It's doing it. It's making it. As soon as I've done it, I'm on to the next mission.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy to be here now talking to you about it, but I'm already hatching my next thing.
Good. Oh, I love that. Well, when the next thing comes, can you come back in and talk
I'll
to
see you. I'll see you then.
Stewart, thank you. Good luck with it. I love it. It's right up my street.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for speaking to us on Gold Radio.
Thanks for listening.
All-time classics.